Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
All right, so July 18th was the date that I had booked my flight for to head to New York. So I was going to leave the morning of the 18th and come back late the night of the 23rd. And the way that I looked at it was like, yeah, I'm going there for my dad's celebration of life service. But at the same time, I'm also going to be meeting family that I had not ever met. Now, in my mind, that's the way that I viewed it, because I had not seen any of these people in person since I was 4, or some not at all because they weren't born yet. And so for me, it's like I'm meeting family. For some of them, it's like, oh, we're being reunited with, my cousin or niece or whatever. But for me, it was like I'm meeting family. Now, granted, I have interacted with some of them via phone and, social media and whatnot for the past 10 years. But that's why I had my trip try to be, not like too long, but more than just go and then leave the next day. So late Wednesday night, so my flight was supposed to leave Thursday morning, and late Wednesday night, thank God I was still up because I had not packed yet, because it has just been such a busy, really just year, but it started before that, right? And so I was trying to get as much stuff done as possible before I left, just so that I could really feel okay about not working while I was gone. Now, granted, no one had this expectation of me to do anything. And in hindsight, I realize I probably should have slowed down sooner than I did, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? And so I happen to be up and I get this email, and the email's like, your flight has been canceled. We're working to rebook it. And I was just like, oh, that's weird, because I don't fly a ton, but the times that I have flown as an adult where I'm aware of what's going on, that has never happened. So I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And then I want to say another hour or so went by, because again, I was still up. Then I get another email that's like, pick a new flight. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess I can't leave when I thought I would leave. No worries, because at that time, the service was going to happen on Friday. That's why I booked the plane for Thursday. That gave me time to get there, get settled, and not have to dive right into, all that. So I tried to I tried to pick another flight for Thursday, but there was nothing available. And so the only flight that was available, that was a nonstop flight, and that wasn't super early in the morning. Actually, you know what? That flight wasn't even available, so I take that back. The only flight that was available that was a nonstop flight was basically me leaving the same time, but leaving on Friday instead of Thursday. So good Lord. So I booked that flight, and, I'm really glad that it worked out that way, because then I was able to get a bunch of stuff done on Thursday, and then also happened to have a conversation with my boss, and I'm pretty sure that he was already just kind of thinking along these lines regardless. But long story short, we shifted around, not really like decreasing any responsibility of mine, but more so just shifting my focus to where there's a heavier emphasis on me helping drive the creative direction of our stuff, and way less emphasis, almost minimal, on the project management side of things, which I am so grateful for that for many reasons. One, it gives me the brain space to be able to think more strategically in the marketing area, because with project management, it's a lot of do, and like following up with people. And, we have this system that we use and just managing that. And that takes a lot of time. And so then when I still also have, the whole marketing side of things, because those things work together, but they weren't really like the same thing. Then I'm also, leading the content team and this, that, and the other. It's like been difficult to think as strategically as I typically do, especially like when I was doing a lot of digital marketing for my own company. And so that, plus he wants me to focus more on like developing leaders in the area that I lead for our encounters. And so it was a great conversation. He also said that someone else was going to run socials for a week just to kind of allow me to not have to focus on that, especially like while I was out of town. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that was a great conversation. So then by me still being there Thursday, I was able to get a lot of tasks done that I would have had to do while I was gone. Actually, it probably wouldn't have got done. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't have to worry about what it would have looked like, whatever. But in my mind, I had this plan of I'm going to do, get caught up in this, that, and the other. Okay, so then Friday morning, the 19th, is when whatever happened with the tech outage to where flights were getting canceled and this, that, and the other. And I flew American Airlines, so I didn't fly Southwest, which I heard was not affected by this. But somehow, by the grace of God, the only thing that happened was my flight was delayed an hour, because when the flight came in from New York and then, we're about to leave, I don't know, something with maintenance. I don't know. I just know my flight left an hour later than it was supposed to. Other than that, I was not affected. Now, what I have learned from this is I don't know if I could go back to layovers or any of that. Having direct flights is such a beautiful thing, but especially that day, because what I was overhearing different people say is that because of the delay in our departure, some people were not going to make their connecting flights. You know what I mean? I got there later than I anticipated, but that was it. And it wasn't like I had anything in particular planned that day, because once I told my aunt that my flight has been canceled and that I wasn't going to come in until Friday instead of Thursday, she let me know. Basically, there were some, and I'm not going to get really into that part of the trip, but there were like some delays and hiccups with all the arrangements related to my dad's burial. Now, he was cremated, but there was the part where his ashes were going to be buried with my grandma. So there was like some delay with that to where it needed to be pushed back to Monday anyway. So I'm like, okay, cool. It works out, whatever. So I get there and I'm reunited with, the people that have met me before. But again, like I said, this is me meeting a bunch of family and this, that, and the other. And at first, it was extremely overwhelming just because it's like they're so excited to see me and so happy and just having this emotional response. And me, I'm just kind of like, I don't know y'all. I know you're my family. And then on top of that, there's the whole why I'm there is my dad died. And so I'm, going through the whole grieving process. And so it was like a little overwhelming at first. And so I just, we laughed. They showed me pictures. We ate, whatever. And then it's like, I don't remember what happened. I think my aunt told this story that like really made me laugh, that really just, I don't know, it kind of just put me at ease. And it's funny because, I can't remember who said like, oh, well, do you want to have a drink? And at first I was like, no, because it's like, I want to be really careful while I'm grieving. I just remember, full transparency, I remember when Jamel died, and like back in the day, smoking weed was my go-to. Well, I didn't want to do that, you know what I mean? And so I didn't become like an alcoholic, but I drank more than I normally do in general. And it'd be like every day and this, that, and the other. And so I just know I need to be really careful that as I'm grieving, my policy in general with alcohol is like, if it's a celebratory thing, sure, you know what I mean? And it doesn't even need to always be that. But if it's oh, I'm sad or I'm stressed or I'm whatever, oh, I need a drink. No, I probably need to talk to Jesus and figure out what's going on in my heart. That's what is working for me. You know what I mean? I know not everybody has that, go to or whatever, but that's mine. So I already set in my mind that I don't want to wow out as I'm grieving my dad's passing, because it has been very painful. And I just remember there did get to the point after his passing, Jamel's, where I did kind of start wilding out for a little while, and I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? So I'm just being very mindful of that. And so at first, when they were like, oh, well, do you want to drink? And I was like, no. But then once it shifted to where it's, oh, we're laughing, we're having fun. This is like basically a family get together, people are cooking, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, I will have a drink, or, several margaritas that I had. And so it's so funny because, of course, the first thing I wanted when I got to New York was New York pizza, because, you have to have if you like pizza, you have to have New York pizza when you're in New York, because you can't get it anywhere else. So that's what I had. And then my aunt also cooked, different stuff and this, that, and the other. It was a good time. And then it's like, it's so interesting because the awkwardness didn't last long. And then once it faded, it really just felt like, even though I'm really truly in my mind and experience feeling and knowing I'm really kind of like meeting these people for the first time, because I don't remember what was going on when I was 4, but it didn't feel like that. And it's like, I saw so much of myself in different aspects of different people, like similar sense of humor. And me and one of my little cousins, she really reminded me of me. And I even told her that, like, the way we played this trivia game on Sunday when like everyone cooked and, whatever. We played this Netflix trivia game. Didn't even know Netflix had stuff like that, but we had teams or whatever. And so it was me and my little cousins, like they're the daughters of my first cousins. And so they are 15 and 17. So we're playing this trivia game. We're on a team. And as we're, winning, because all I do is win, no matter what, you feel me? But as we're playing, we're like also just basically coming up with narratives for like, if we win this, if we lose around that and whatever. And it was just really funny how we played off of each other just so effortlessly, because she just has a very similar, just, I don't know, style to me, I guess. I don't know if style is the right word. And so like, I just see so much of myself in different aspects of really everyone. They are all really funny effortlessly. And it's not that, and there are ways that I'm like my mom's side of the family, but I am different, you know what I mean? And I've always noticed that. And so it actually was really good for me to just be around a lot of people where it's like, I'm not the only one like this. We're all like this. There are a lot of creatives on that side of the family. So people sing, I'm so sad that as the Lord was handing out talents and stuff like that, he did not give me better vocals. I don't understand, but there are other writers and just different things like that. My dad was really into photography, which I have become very much into it, with my job. But I mean, I want to save up and get a real camera and just really start just doing different things with photography and whatever. And, so there are a lot of creatives this and the other. So that was pretty much how Friday and Sunday went. So Saturday, the cousin that I stayed with, because she's the one I've kind of interacted with the most over the last 10 years. So it was her birthday on, what day was that? On Saturday, the 20th. And it's really interesting because she's the oldest and I'm the oldest on my mom's side. And so I didn't grow up with being younger than anyone. So it's so funny because we both operate as oldest, but she's actually my older cousin, but then she's shorter than me. So that's what's interesting is I'm so much taller than everyone that I met. Some not as much, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm taller than everyone that I met. So that was interesting. And so, yeah, she's significantly shorter than me. So I just kept calling her my little cousin or little big cuz. It was just so funny. But her birthday was Saturday. So we went to this restaurant for her birthday with one of her really good friends and her cousin on her dad's side. And so I had good food and I had a good experience, but her cousin that was with us did not, y'all. So she ordered a quesadilla. She's vegan though. So she was like, I want a quesadilla with everything on it except the chicken. So just the vegetables and cheese. Okay, cool. That should not be hard to pull off because all you got to do is just leave out the chicken. Y'all, why they bring her, I've never seen this in my life. And there may have been somewhat of a language barrier. I don't know. This was it was called Colombian House. So I'm guessing it was Colombian restaurant. I guess either it was a miscommunication on her part. It really wasn't because I heard what she has said. But we will say that. Or he didn't fully understand, but all I know is what they brought back to the table, y'all. Tortillas, right? Quesadillas have tortillas all, no matter what kind of quesadilla, it has tortilla shell, right? Also, there was what it appeared to be is that someone opened a can of Green Giant, I think that's the brand, mixed vegetables, drained the liquid out and poured the mixed vegetables in the tortilla shell. So there was peas and carrots and just all the things. And that is what he brought her. And when she, went to try to get it fixed or whatever and like get the right food, he wasn't understanding really what she was saying or what the issue was. And so he went and got, I think what it was that this man was the manager. The manager was able to, get it right or whatever. But what's funny is like after that, y'all, our waiter literally just moved on with life and never came back to our table, not even to bring us the check. And so I'm seeing him walk back and forth to help other tables. And when the new quesadilla was brought to the table, I promise y'all, I saw him side eye look at the quesadilla and then just after that never looked at us again. Like he really just moved on with life as if we didn't exist. It was so funny. This restaurant also had live entertainment. So there was, I joke and say Selena reincarnated, but there was this like, we'll just say Hispanic lady because I don't really know what, nationality. And I don't even know if nationality is the correct word, but y'all know what I mean. I always say Hispanic if I'm not sure. So she had on this 2-piece spandex sequin outfit. Get into the look, y'all, with the cowboy hat. And she's singing Bitty Bitty Bumba. Just kidding. She didn't sing that song. But she's like singing. I don't really know what she was singing because she was singing Spanish. She could have been ushering in evil. I don't know. But everybody there was here for it. She's going, in front of all the tables and whatever. And if people had their cameras out, she was making, or phones or whatever, she was making sure that she was giving what needed to be gave. You know what I mean? There were 2 people that actually had communicated to the staff that it was their birthday. She came out singing happy birthday. They had dessert with like flames or I don't know, sparkler extreme coming out of the dessert. It was a lot, right? Like almost too much, very loud, but the food was really good. Now, I got a quesadilla and then I got a burger and fries. And the reason why, y'all, them margaritas, normally, like when I drink, I don't really do a ton of mixed drinks anymore, just sometimes. But most of the time, either I'll do shots of something and like not a ton of shots, depending on whatever, or I'll do like a rum and Coke or whatever. Those are usually my go-to. So I don't know if it's because I had a lot of margaritas, and then I had a glass of wine. I don't know if it was that mixture, because I don't really drink wine all like that. But I think it was probably that, coupled with the fact that due to being in the airport and like flying all day, for whatever reason, I didn't drink any water at all day Friday. And so I think it's more so that I had not had any water. All I know is Saturday I was on the struggle bus, and this is why I don't be drinking like that, because there's only been twice in life, and that was the second time that I've ever been on the struggle bus the next day. I wouldn't say I had a hangover, although I don't know. Maybe that really is what was going on. And so I was really trying to like sober up. And so what I know is like eating carbs and greasy food is helpful with that. And so that's why I had a quesadilla. I didn't even really eat the fries because that was, too much food to be eating a quesadilla and a burger and fries. But I did eat the burger. So I'm in this Colombian restaurant getting a burger and fries. But I got the quesadilla though. So that's like, on brand or whatever. So that was Saturday. So we ended up spending the night in this hotel because she got a hotel, and they had breakfast, which a lot of hotels will have breakfast, but it wasn't continental breakfast. It was, yeah, we got some staff in here and you can have cooked to order omelets, and, they had like, French toast and just all this stuff, but there was like staff tending to it, standing out there, greeting you, like get your coffee for you type stuff. So it was, really good food. And then, yeah, at this point it's Sunday. So then we went to my aunt's house and, had more food, had whatever. Okay, cool. Let's get into Monday, y'all. I'm not gonna go too much into Monday as far as specific details. Sometimes that's the downside of having something that's on a public platform, because you don't necessarily know who's going to listen. And I never want anyone to, especially if it's not a conversation that I had in depth with someone, I never want anyone to hear anything for the first time if they happen to come across this show. What I will say is that, there was just some really weird hiccups with the arrangements, the financial side of things that I didn't know were a thing before I booked my trip. I kind of thought everything was situated and stuff like that. And so with that said, what I did find out, and what I will say, is that my dad had been with this woman for a long time. I want to say, I think 14 years. Never met her and didn't even meet her while I was there. And she had originally put money towards the cost of cremating him and all that. So like I said, there was the plan to cremate him, which I had to authorize that. And then his ashes in the urn, or the box, I should say, would be buried with my grandma, who passed away before I was even born, because that's what he had wanted, right? And I didn't even know you could do that, but apparently you can. Like, if somebody, like if your grandma, your mom, or whatever, if you didn't know this, and I don't know, every state is different, so check into it if this is something that you want to do. But yeah, they dug a little hole that could fit the box in and lowered it. And yeah, so I didn't even know that was a thing. So yeah, so we find out that she took the money back or whatever. And then we spent a lot of time on Monday trying to basically make stuff happen, like going to the VA and all this stuff. And it just wasn't working out. And so then we get to the funeral home, and I'm just kind of talking to them because my plane was was going to leave the next night regardless. So it's Monday and there has been no service yet. And I'm like, I may have to leave and go back home and not be able to see him be buried. And for me, that burial and whatever, like that's the closure that I knew I needed, at least to solidify that this is real. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, especially given the nature of our relationship, and we'll get into that in a little bit unless I forget, but given the nature of our relationship, it's not like there was necessarily a void as far as, oh, I used to talk to you all the time and now I don't. There definitely is a piece of me that is missing that I did not expect. Don't get me wrong. But as far as like it'd be different if it was my mom, because I talk to my mom, a lot and see her and this, that, and the other. Not the case with him. And so, yeah, I knew that I needed that. That's why I went. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I could have just stayed home. So here it is Monday. We haven't had a service. I then sent a text to I don't want to just say coworkers because it's so much beyond that. So I'll just say my friends. And I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you please be praying, this, that, and the other? And so, because I talked to the funeral director or whatever, and basically I'm like, okay, so let's say we get this money and whatever, like, what is the turnaround time? Like, how quickly could whatever happen? I'm trying to like figure all that out, because I'm just like, I know God can provide and, whatever, but I'm like, but is there going to be a holdup on your end? And I'm telling them, because I'm like, I don't live here. And I think they already knew that. And I'm like, and my plane is leaving tomorrow night. Thank God I had booked it for the night. And it's interesting because I started to book an earlier flight thinking about someone picking me up from the airport, because I didn't get home until 11 o'clock at night. But I just figured it's better to have as much of the day as I could with my family, since, they're in New York. So it's not like I'm just going to quickly get there. You know what I mean? So I just get really, really just upset and overwhelmed and this, that, and the other, because I'm just like, bruh, kind of like, why did this happen? Why, whatever. And so I just got up, went in the bathroom, and I just cried and, kind of said whatever to the Lord. Now, the good that came out of this particular part of the day is that my dad's girlfriend had sent an envelope with some of his belongings there for me. So I've never had anything of his that I remember anyway. And so like I have his wallet, it has his driver's license and some other, identification with his picture on it. It also has his debit cards and all that stuff, but like bank account is closed. I have his passport. I have just his birth certificate, just different things. But then there's also this bracelet that I don't know when he bought it for me. She just said when I was little, because I think she just said a kid, because I had text her because I had heard from a different aunt that she was going to give some stuff to me or whatever. And so, I was asking her, like, do you know when he bought this bracelet for me? Because for me, it's just wild that, he would even think of buying me anything. And I'm wondering, like, why didn't he give it or whatever? I don't know. And so I have this bracelet, and there's like some other stuff, but it's like, and it's funny, there's like $9 in his wallet, and I'm never going to spend it, not because, it's like he needs it or whatever, but that's it. I don't know. I don't have anything from him. And, so I have that. So that was nice. So I'm frustrated on Monday, and I tell my aunt, I'm like, originally I had said I would like, yeah, let's go get something to eat after this, because she's like running me around and this, that, and the other. And so I appreciate that, because I kind of needed to be a part of whatever she was doing. So then I ended up just giving her $20, and I was like, hey, I know I said we could go eat, but I really just want to go home, and I'm tired. This is a lot. Like, I'm not mad at you or whatever, but this is just a lot. And like, can you just, yeah. And so when I got home, I was able to talk to my cousin just kind of freely about, what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And what I told her is I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want pizza, because, I got to get some more New York pizza. And that's it. And so we ordered a pizza. Y'all, pizza is so cheap out there to be that good. Like, you could get a whole big ol' pie for $17, and it's so good. And like, yeah. And so we played Uno also, so that was fun too, me and her daughter. And it was game night, right? I love a good game night. And so that was just really good for me to just, be able to say what I needed to say, but then also just be able to just be and not have to like have a lot of people, trying to figure out if I'm okay and this, that, and the other. And so by the grace of God, the next day, Tuesday, it worked out. My aunts were able to, come up with the balance, because there was a balance with the funeral home. Then there's the money that you had to pay to the cemetery so that they would open the plot to bury his stuff, so that we could actually have something. Because we talked about, like, if we weren't able to do that, like just having just a family service, and maybe I wouldn't be there for the burial part. But God is good. God is a provider. Man, shout out to the people that I reached out to pray, and it worked out to where we were able to, get the balance paid, get his ashes from the funeral home, and then have a small, there weren't many people there because there was so many hiccups on what was going to happen. So I wasn't a part of communicating anything to anyone, but there were not many people there. But if I'm honest, for me, which I know that there are people that may be mad that they missed out on that, but for me, it just, I don't know. I appreciate that it was literally just me and my family there, just because of all of the overwhelmment with also meeting a lot of people. Like, I got to meet an uncle as well, and just all of that. And so we had the service, and it's so wild because it's like, that time spent with the urn, just looking at it and this, that, and the other, like, that's the only memory in person that I have with my dad. And that is something that I struggle with. That I struggle with wondering, man, maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe I should have just showed up, because the thought of him buying me a bracelet whenever in time, where in my mind, he didn't care. I've learned so much about, though, him and the struggles that he had. And I'm someone that tries to figure out the why behind behavior. I mean, shouldn't be surprising because my degree is in psychology, but his mom passed away when before I was born, right? And he was away. He was in the Marine Corps and he was away and wasn't able to say bye to her. He was able to, come back for the service or whatever. And he was a mama's boy. And I'm wondering, and then I found out that I knew that he and that my grandma and he was born in North Carolina like I was, so I didn't know that. And we're the same height actually, because I looked at his driver's license. So I'm 5'9" and he's 5'9". So that I didn't really know anything about him. But what I did know is that his dad was abusive towards my grandma, and so that's why they left North Carolina and came up to New York. What I didn't know, and I just found out this past weekend, is that his dad was killed whenever, and then his mom died when he was young. I don't know how old he would have been in 1976, but probably 19, because I think, or maybe 20, because I know my mom was 23 when she had me, so he probably would have been 24, because I think he's a year older than my mom. And so, yeah, he is. And so it's you lost your parents at a young age. You didn't have either parents. And from what I have been told, really struggled with his mom's death and the fact that he wasn't able to be there to say bye. And so I wonder if that, I don't know. I wonder if that's what made it a struggle for him to try to have a relationship with me. Maybe he didn't want to have me ever feel that pain, or I don't know. I can only speculate at this point, but just the thought of him buying me something, and so I've had those thoughts man, this is just so wild that 40 years later, I'm getting to finally reconnect with my family and he's not here, right? He's the reason I have this family because he's my dad. And then it's interesting, I am just thinking of this now. He's the reason I was able to get reconnected with my family through his death. And so it's just been, after the service, I love that they gave me time by myself to just stand there as much time as I felt like I needed. And then we got food. Of course, I had to get pizza again, right? And then I got on my plane and left. And as soon as the plane started to ascend, I started crying, because then that's when I'm settled, but flying away the reality of, let's say I wanted to go to the gravesite and visit it. That's not an easy thing, because in the beginning, that's what I did when the girl's dad passed away. I'd go to the gravesite and just talk to him about different, I know he's not there, but you know what I mean? Different things going on with the girls, this, that, and the other. Well, there's not that. There's also all this family that I just met and I'm leaving. And so it's not going to be this easy thing to see them again. You know what I mean? And so I'm so glad that this man that was seated next to me on the flight, either he didn't notice I was crying or he just decided to mind his business, but I'm glad he didn't ask no questions. And it was a nighttime flight anyway, so I'm glad. But at that point, the cabin light, or I don't know if it's called the cabin lights, the lights were on in the plane because they were, giving people snacks and whatnot. And so, yeah, that was my trip. And it does feel good to be back, though, and to be back into just the normalcy of, work and my support system and the people that because there was that too, is I went by myself. But I remember just feeling this peace that I was supposed to go, and I'm so glad I did. And I just remember saying to the Lord, but I'll be by myself. And he was like, well, I'll be with you. And it's like, you're right. I wasn't alone, but feels good to be back. And very glad that while I was away, I did the most minimal amount of work ever. I really just, there's these videos that we have a better system as far as getting them in earlier, but we weren't there. And so I'm having to edit to make sure that they're ready to go out before they're going to be released to everyone. So I did have to do that. I'd edit like a couple a day or not, but I didn't do anything on Tuesday. And so, yeah, I'm very glad that I slowed down during that trip, because if I'm honest, I can't remember the last time I've slowed down in I don't know how long. For sure not this year, but it's probably been even longer than that. And so it was really, really good, because also I cannot grieve this the way that I did with Jamel, where I just like pushed myself. But I really wasn't grieving for me necessarily with his death. I more so grieved for the girls, because that's their dad. Like, yeah, we had a friendship at that point, and there's years of history there where from when we were friends before we started, dating, and then marriage and kids and all that. Kids came before marriage, but you know what I mean? Like, there was so many years of history, but when it came down to it, at the end of the day, that is Kayliana and Janae's dad. So like, I more so grieve for them. Plus they were young, and there was so many things at that time going on with Janae. This is different. No one, like, my kids didn't know him. So like, yeah, their grandpa died, but it's not their dad. And they also didn't have a relationship with him. My mom and him had been separated and broken up for over 40 years. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, she is sad. Don't get me wrong. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but she's more so worried about me and how I'm doing, right? And so it's this interesting thing where, yes, I'm back and it feels good to be back, but then it's just like, this is wild. And, like a lot of us last night went to the movies to see the new Deadpool movie. And during the movie, there was this point when I just started feeling grief, and I'm trying to like, okay, not right now, so I've learned to compartmentalize it, where I allow myself space, but sometimes I'll suppress it and just in a not right now type thing if I'm trying to whatever. But I felt that coming up while I'm in the movie. And so then on the drive home, I cried. And so this is, such an interesting journey, such a, whatever, but I'm glad I went on this trip. Super grateful that I was able to get time with my family, like had a lot of fun despite that one day. And here's the thing is that I will say this, if I would have got there Thursday, or even if my plane had not been delayed Friday, but because since my plane was delayed, we couldn't do anything related to arrangements on Friday because I got there too late and stuff is closed. I'm not knowing that things are not all the way situated. Had I have found that out at the beginning of my trip instead of the end of my trip, that really probably would have changed the way the trip went, because it's like I would have immediately had to deal with all the messiness of that. Whereas God in his kindness and just wisdom and foresight, I'm confident that's why my Thursday flight was canceled, because that happened before the tech outage. And I'm confident that's why there was a delay. You know what I'm saying? That you hear so many stories of where there's delays or inconveniences or frustrations or whatever, where it's really God's grace and protection. because I didn't need that at the beginning of my trip. And so because of that, and because I booked a late flight Tuesday night for different reasons, but because of all of that, one, I was able to spend the first several days, or few, it's not like my trip was forever. I was able to spend the first few days of my trip just having fun, not worrying about anything with arrangements or, whatever. And then also because my flight left so late Tuesday night, that gave time and space to where we could get all the money together and have something before I left, and then even eat and have a little bit of time just together, take pictures and whatnot, and then me leave. You know what I mean? And so I just see just God's just in the details. And I've seen that throughout this whole process. And so it's just, it's such an interesting thing. But I'm so glad I was able to get time with my family and just create memories, that, because I'm just all about memories and, stuff like that. So that is what I have for y'all this week. As always, make sure you are taking care of yourself mentally. Make sure you are taking care of yourself emotionally and spiritually. Make sure you are taking care of yourself physically. It's funny because I worked out the Wednesday before I left and did not get back in the gym at all until a week later, the Wednesday after I came back. Felt so good to be back in the gym. I did do a little bit, it wasn't even this long walk from my cousin's house to my aunt's house on, I think it was Sunday maybe. But other than that, I didn't do much working out at all, and not a ton of walking, except for from this place to that place. So it felt so good to be back in the gym and just back at it. I am definitely seeing just results. I'm just seeing my clothes fit differently and this, that, and the other. It's weird because I need to, I know once I start buying new clothes, because my clothes, I'm making it work, but some are just definitely too big, really all of them, but whatever, I'm making it work. I know that once I start buying new clothes, it's for me, that's when you kind of really see, because you see yourself in something different. For me, there's this weird thing where, because I've been on this journey over the past 10 years, it's just this time I have accountability and whatever to be successful and just continue to go forward. Excuse me. But it's when you're still wearing the same clothes you were as before, it's this weird thing where you don't necessarily see yourself. In some ways you do, especially the way that I'm wearing clothes, differently. And I even know with this one dress that I bought, it's a dress and then it has a button up shirt that is over it. It's all white. I love it. I was only able to wear it once and then it shrunk in the dryer. I don't even know why I put it in the dryer. And I was like, it's fine. I'll get back down into it, because I had kind of just started this journey. So this was over a year ago, and I was able to wear it a month or so ago. And so obviously I'm making progress, but make sure you are taking care of yourself physically, and make sure you're healthy in your relationships. That is so important. If I would say I have a regret, because at first I was I have no regrets because I don't have any, bitterness or whatever towards my dad, because I've processed whatever to be healed or whatever. But the regret that I do have is I wonder how things would have panned out if I would have tried harder, because I very much when I felt whatever, I just stopped trying. And I just wonder if, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have. I wonder how things would have went if I would have just shown up, because the thing about it is my grandma lives not too far. There's other people that we have that are family that are in New York, New Jersey, that I could have went to stay with them and try to connect with my family. But I didn't because of him, because I wasn't sure how I'd be received. So I do have that regret. I can't change the past, but it has made me want to be more intentional with my relationships that, you know, are important to me and that are the people that I'm doing life with, especially in this season. And so that's all I can do with that, is just try to be more intentional going forward. So yeah, that is what I have for y'all this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for